This is the Capital One Neighborhood Pulse Application Sprint 4 demonstration video. My name is Ethan Rowland, and my teammates are Travis Adams, Grace Armfield, Jordan Goldstein, and Chanel Miller.
In Sprint 3, our primary goal was to add user accounts. This would be accomplished through adding a user table to the database, adding a login page, an account page, and adding the ability to save events. All of these goals were accomplished in that sprint.
That's where we were starting at the beginning of Sprint 4. Sprint 4 was all about adding more user interactivity to our application. This included things like adding user-created events, adding user comments on events, as well as on locations. And we had originally planned on setting up HTTPS in the sprint. However, we ended up pushing that to Sprint 5 after reevaluating the most important goals for this sprint. Similarly, we were originally going to scrape Google events to populate our database. However, we found that switching to StubHub web crawling was a much better option for the goals of our application. Finally, while not originally in our plan, we decided to add static points of interest to our application at the request of our client after meeting with them prior to the beginning of Sprint 4. All of these goals, as you can see on this page, were accomplished in this sprint.
For this sprint, we felt it was important to finalize the data sources from which we pulled in order to populate our application. We settled on three main data sources, which are Eventbrite, StubHub, and Google Locations. We chose Eventbrite because it's a good source of local, smaller scale events, whereas StubHub is good for larger events. Google Locations provides information about static locations and points of interest for a given geographic location. We also created a management system for the easy expansion into new geographies beyond just the Atlanta area, which we currently support.
Here we can see how user-created events and user-submitted comments are added in the front end. For user-created events, you see we could add a title, a category, we could specify a date and time, specify whether the event is online or in person, and add a link and description. For user-submitted comments, the user can simply type their comment and submit it with the comment button seen in the image on the right. We can also see examples of added comments in the image as well.
In the back end, support for these two things were accomplished by creating endpoints for submitting a JSON document containing the fields filled out by the user in both of these forms. So for the comments and events form respectively. That JSON document is then packaged up by the backend and submitted into the database so that it can be retrieved later. We also added endpoints for retrieving comments so that the front end can ask the backend for the comments for a certain event so that it can display them. We're now going to move on to the live demo. Here, we can see our application loading the home page. Here's what you see when you launch the application. We're going to go ahead and sign in. With a username and password. And we can see that we're successfully signed in. Now, we're going to go up to our button up here and create an event. We're going to call this Sprint 4 Demo Video Launch Party. The category is, of course, a performance. The date will be today, but not for another hour. And this is going to take place in my apartment. No link, since we're running this live. We haven't submitted the video yet. And finally, the description. Sprint 4 Demo Launch Party. Socially distanced, because it's just me. I'm going to go ahead and create this event. Boom. So now we can see this event is here. There's no comments. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. So now we're going to go in and look at my saved events. If we look, we can see that because I created this event, it was automatically saved to my saved events list. So I can go ahead and click on it to expand the view. Now notice there's no comments. Well, I'd like to know who's coming. I'll be there. And now I can comment on that event, and we can see it pops up. Other events that don't have comments won't display any. And that's everything for this sprint. Thanks for watching.